All right. I have been playing Wuthering Waves for the story. Which might sound weird for some of you who aren't too familiar with it. It's a gacha game, and it's the first gacha game I've ever played. My impression of gacha games was it's a way to get people to gamble for virtual goods, right? Which is true. However, a friend of mine said that the story gets really good, or at least at times. And I like a good video game story, so I gave it a shot, and I'm finally caught up with it, and I'm at a point where I think I can talk about it and share my feelings about how Wuthering Waves, or WUWA, handles story in its game. So I'm just gonna kind of ramble about how I felt on the story, and we're gonna try and I guess if you try and split it up into 1.x, 2.x, and 3.x, that would kind of make sense. And I'm just gonna kind of skim over it and tell you kind of how I feel. So first off, the 1.x series, the beginning of the game, is nonsense. I played through the story. It's absolute nonsense. And the reason it's nonsense is because the game will consistently get in its own way trying to explain its magic system. Whenever the game starts saying the frequencies of the resonator started resonating with the Threnodian, or was it the Imperator, during the dark tide that caused the high tide, it throws so many different terms that it's created and tries to make it make sense. A frequency can be literally anything.
Leave it to me.
It's just nonsense. My eyes start to glaze over, and it's really, really hard to care. Apparently, the writers of the story think that this magic system is really interesting and people really love it, but it's absolute nonsense. That is not what people like in a story, and I think I'm right in saying that, because the popular patches don't really focus on that. The popular patches focus on what people really like in storytelling, and that's characters, and character development, and character motivation, and character sympathies. We want to feel things, and it's really hard to feel things when we get so bogged down in the weeds of all of these frequencies and resonators and rules for all of this magic stuff. It's hard to care. My eyes just glaze over. It's awful. And 1.x is basically that the whole way through. It's either that or the dialogue is just so inconsequential that it's just people just literally talking about the weather practically. It's either they're bogged down in the weeds of their own magic system to the point where nothing really means anything anymore, or they're literally talking about nothing. And then there's the villains. Okay? I'm of the opinion you could probably skip every cutscene with a villain in it for 90% of the story, because the villain is just going to talk in such vague terms, and be super theatrical, but not say anything. They're not going to give you anything. You're going to learn nothing from every monologue that the villains have, and they have a lot of them. It's absolute nonsense. So why did I keep playing? My friend who suggested the game to me kept asking me to play. But honestly, the gameplay is surprisingly fun, considering you can play all of it for free. I haven't spent a single cent on this game, and I'm not going to spend a single cent on this game. And there's a lot of fun things to do in the game. The combat's fun, the exploring is fun. You can basically go on any map and go in any direction, and you're gonna find something cool or interesting wherever you go. So I kept playing. And then we got to 2.0. We got to Renacida. Renacida was a huge improvement to Jinjiao, to 1.0. Renacida, they started to have like an overarching story, kind of, that made sense. It was still, they're still kind of bogged down with the details, but the characters became way more individual, I guess. Like a lot of the characters in Jinjiao, they were just like even some of the playable characters, they're just someone who works in an office that you met, and now they're playable. But then in Renacida, each character has their own motivations, they have their own backstory, they interact with each other. They became more like real people, and I like that a lot. Most of the quests in Renacida I really liked, and occasionally it got really, really good. What I really like about a lot of the stories is they're in story patches, and you can finish a patch in one sitting. They'll take like 3 to 5-ish hours, so I can sit down in one night and do a complete story. I love that. I love that I could just have these bite-sized chunks that I can like do a one-off for. That's not a big commitment. So basically, like, every patch there's like a new character that we get their story, and I can get that big chunk. And during Renacida, we got, I believe it was the 2.5 patch, Frolova's patch. Frolova is one of the villains, and before this patch, she was just another one of the villains in the background, doing evil things, monologuing, saying vaguely threatening things that didn't amount to anything. And then we got a patch just for her, which made her playable, interestingly enough. And it was great. Frolova's patch was fantastic. It had wonderful pacing. It was very character motivated, because it was really all about like not only Frolova, the villain, but like her relationship to the playable character. She starts questioning the playable character. It was really, really good. It made me feel things. And it was great. Absolutely wonderful. But then they ruined it. The imagery they used at the end of Frolova's patch. She should have been dead, quote unquote dead, or just gone forever at the end of Frolova's patch. 2 patches later, she's just another evil minion in the background doing evil things again, which made that patch horrible for me, because it felt like the patch that I liked so much, Frolova's patch, it made it feel like it was pointless. Made it feel like what's the point of having this great story if there's no consequences for it? And that ruined it for me. It's like when they do something really good, it made me want to play the game again. It made me really interested in what's going to happen next. And then it's a nothing burger. That didn't feel very good. But most of the patches I really liked. They still get bogged down in the weeds in the 2.x series. They still have moments where we spend a long time talking about details for things that don't need that much. Like, for example, I think it was Augusta's patch. We spent like half the time talking about the hunt and explaining the hunt and how we're going to organize the hunt. And it just got so tiresome, I just stopped caring. And I know, like, at the end of that patch, we got some background for Augusta, but we were so in the weeds and all the little details that I just didn't care about, that by the time we got to Augusta's backstory, I didn't give a shit anymore. I was just like, let's just move on with this. And like, I think it was the 0.7 patch that's supposed to be the big moment where everything comes together, the climax of the whole Renacida story. And they tried to have multiple Avengers Assemble moments, but they all felt flat to me. Like, for example, there's a moment where like the player character and like three or four other characters were surrounded by some bad guys, some tacit discords, and it's like, oh no, we're in trouble. And then, you know, Brant's ship comes in and brings all the other friends that we had made in Raguna, and it's supposed to be a big, like, you know, hey, the cavalry's arrived, team members were saved moment. But two things. The pacing for the cutscenes was really slow and quiet, and like I didn't feel like we were in trouble at all, right? And not only that, it's hard for anyone to feel in trouble because every single character is a badass. Every patch that we go through and we meet these characters, they're all freaking badasses. They can all fight armies all by themselves. They're all incredibly capable. And the fact that we're surrounded by like 10 tacit discords and we're supposed to be like, oh no, what are we gonna do? It didn't feel that way. And then when the game does something really good and like increases the hype moment, like for example, in that same patch, there's a moment in the gameplay. Sorry, there's a cat walking around my feet. There's a moment in the gameplay where we're like going through a gauntlet, and it was really fun and really epic. And it created hype. Like, oh yeah, things are really ramping up. And then we had like a slow, quiet cutscene for like 10 minutes, again talking about details that don't really matter. And it just brings it down. The pacing can be really bad. But when it's good, it's good. And then we get to Lahairoi, the 3.x patches. And it gets way better. Like I said, like 2.0 was a big improvement from 1.0, and 3.0 was even better. I adored the 3.0 patch. Lene's story and the introduction to Lahairoi was great. The pacing was great. The payoffs were great. The characters were great. Lene is wonderful. Mornier's a badass motherfucker. You don't mess with Mornier. She killed a man. I love it. I loved everything about it. And you get a motorcycle like you see in the background here. And then 3.1 was incredibly special. 3.1 made us care about a character. Imeth. Imeth is perfect. You are designed to fall in love with Imeth instantly, and then it turns out she's your daughter. And we need to protect our daughter and save our daughter, and it was such a great patch. They did such an amazing job. And then it just kind of it ends with us having a mission to save our daughter. We have to save Imeth. And then we talk to Luke. Luke is like, you're too invested in this. We need to take a break. And I'm like, we need to save my fucking daughter. And Luke is like, nah. Nah, we gotta wait. And for some reason, Rover's like, oh yeah, you're right. We gotta wait. Freaking Luke. And then we have Sigrika, who, after in 3.1, we get a daughter who is perfect. We get a Gundam. We need to save our daughter from a black hole. Everything is hype. Everything is great. Emotions are high. And then we get Sigrika, who has anxiety. And that's her story. How do they do it? It was crazy. And then finally, the newest patch just came out, 3.3, and we save Imeth. And I was really looking forward to it because 3.1 was so good. It made me care. It made me want to play the game more. 3.3, we introduce Hiyuki. We spend a little bit of time with Hiyuki. But then the whole patch and how we save Imeth is really jumbled. We do a lot of weird things. We remote control the Gundam to put it into the black hole, and then we come back, and then we look for runes for some reason. Apparently, it's because it's related to a map that Imeth gives us. But like when I was doing it, I was like, why are we doing this? It just turned into like a really big jumbled mess, and we're dealing with Hiyuki, we're dealing with Denia, we're dealing with all sorts of weird things. It gets caught in the weeds. It gets caught in the weeds when really all we needed for 3.3 to be great is Rover going into this black hole, which could be anything because it's all timey-wimey shit, and having an adventure saving IMF. That's all we needed. We needed more. They barely had any screen time for IMF, which is weird considering it's clear that she's like the main thing in Lahairoi. It turns out like there's the most screen time IMF gets is after the quest is done, and it's a side quest. Like you can skip it. I would never have seen it if a friend of mine hadn't told me about it. It's very strange. So, what do I think about Wuwa's story? I think the way I'm using it is, like I said before, I like little bite-sized stories that I can do in one night. I could be like, this night I'm going to do this story. That's great fun. And even if it's not great, I'm streaming it, so I can have fun kind of crashing out on stream about how bad it is. But when it's good, it's really good. So I'm gonna keep playing, and I hope that it gets the improvement that I see happening from the 1.x patches to 2.x to 3.x. I hope it keeps happening. I think if they can stop spending so much time talking about frequencies and resonators and all this crap that doesn't really matter, and spend that time instead on characters and characters' motivations and characters' relationships with other characters, and respecting their own story and giving that story consequences, I think it can be really, really good and really, really worth it. So that's my feelings. That's my feelings on the Wuwa story so far as of 3.3. I'm looking forward to playing it more. It's a fun time. I just think they need to focus on the important stuff a little bit more. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Am I crazy? Let me know in the comments. Bye.